Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about something that's personally very important to me, something that interests me a lot, and that is the importance of broadening your horizons through getting acquainted with cultures and philosophies from all around the world. Now, I do realize that currently we live in a climate that does not make traveling easy, but alas, we live in the 21st century and access to the internet is easy for most of us, at least those of us in first world countries. And we have the opportunity to travel far and beyond in our minds to explore whatever we want to do. Besides, not all of us are even interested in travel, not for all of us. It's in the books, it's not going to happen to everyone. Everyone has a different life purpose, everyone has a different karma to fulfill, everyone has a different set of expectations as to what they want from life. However, here I'm going to touch on why it's very important to make sure that your horizons don't end with your backyard, and how much you can profit from expanding your life views into learning about how people in other cultural circles think and how they experience the world and what they say about it. Now, astrologically, I would say this is especially valid if you have placements in the 12th house and the 8th house. Why? Because the 12th house is about enveloping the energy of the entire universe, and it's about the interconnectedness of the flow of energies regardless of our beliefs and our religious views or any other affiliations. I have Jupiter in the 12th house, which is why I'm probably motivated to even make this video in the first place, right? Because I understand the value of this expansion. But if you have any sort of 12th house planets anywhere, this is definitely going to benefit you greatly, because you are naturally tapped into this interconnectedness that we all live in globally. It's your strength. So by learning about other environments and other cultures, you tap into that strength and you benefit from something that can really become an asset in your life. Many famous and accomplished people have 12th house placements. Why? Because it's easy for them to tap into the needs of the collective unconscious. They know how to identify, understand, search for, and then nourish this aspect of humanity that may be in some way deficient. They know how to find a niche. I guess from a business point of view, they call it a niche in the market, but this also applies spiritually. There are just things that a collective needs at a given time. And these people, they can see that, they have a radar for that. So even if they're diehard cold-ass businessmen who just focus on something very materialistic, they know how to provide the service because they can see as to what other people need on a very global level. Because the 12th house is the ultimate global level before we refocus back on ourselves in the first house. So actually this can be really beneficial to your success in a practical way also. Besides, those who are accomplished, they often have a broad vision of the world. They are not locked in their basement, because it's this very expansion of their minds that allows them to benefit from the world, that allows them also to reap karmic rewards through the duty that they fulfill both spiritually and practically to society at large. There is a very common misconception that those who are accomplished or rich are evil or there's something wrong with them, while in fact it's very often quite the opposite. Those of us who have this abundance and who benefit from it are those who have expanded enough to be able to appreciate that. You will notice that there are these histories in the media of people who, for example, have suddenly won the lottery, and a few years after, all their money is gone and they are in debts, and they often have many addictions. Now, why does that happen? Because these are the people who have received their money in a physical form, but are not energetically expanded enough to be able to handle that weight, so it crushes them. Which is why physical and material abundance without the spiritual abundance behind it is not going to bring a person to a state of happiness. This is where you get all these people who are maybe financially well off but unhappy. Those who are both financially well off and fulfilled with their lives are those who have managed to tap into this 12th house depth that all of us have access to. As for the 8th house, those who have planets in the 8th house, the reason why I think it's useful for this is because the 8th house is about digging deep. It's about getting to the root of the problem. It's also about looking at the other person's point of view to reach some sort of consensus in a very volatile, transformative battle. And in order to get to the bottom of something, you need to look at it first. And the more information you have, the more knowledge you have, the deeper you dig, the more you uncover, the more enriched your life becomes. That's why often these people, they are interested in conspiracy theories, in occult subjects. I have K2 / South Node in the 8th house, and I'm an astrologer and a tarot reader for a good reason, because this 8th house connects me to my interest in these matters. So if your astrology chart has planets in these two houses in particular, this is going to be something that really, I would say, is even necessary to you, because these houses can be so difficult and volatile without some sort of opening and some sort of spiritual practice. Well, spiritual practice means something else to all of us, so it can take different forms. Learning astrology, even if it's just about reading books, can be a form of spiritual practice, and that can be soothing to an 8th house person who cares deeply about research and really getting to the bottom of the truth. What these two houses, however, have in common is the feeling of interconnectedness, because the 12th house is the interconnectedness in everything and everyone, while the 8th house is the underground, the interconnectedness that we all experience. If the 12th house is the hyperconscious and the unity consciousness, then the 8th house is the subconscious and the depth that we all also connect with at the bottom. So because of the universality and the intensity of these two energies, learning about other countries, other cultures, other points of view makes these people realize how universal and repetitive our experiences are, no matter where we are born geographically. Our soul incarnates in a very specific place on the globe to give us a very specific natal chart. And then if we move throughout life, if we travel, we are moved to also specific locations for a reason, to have a specific spiritual experience. As different places on the globe affect us differently, we get these experiences for a good reason, to learn from it and grow from it. Our souls also pick a very specific family for a good reason. And so it's important to look at the lessons that we receive from our incarnation family and look at what did our souls want when they picked this family. This can also operate on the negative polarity. For example, if we were raised in a very toxic environment, we can have a firm mindset of, I want to do the exact opposite. And in this way, we learn exactly what we should not do. We learn how to not repeat the karma of our parents or caregivers if they were not healthy for us. However, there's always some sort of wisdom that comes from the environment that we incarnate into that we should always take with us and never forget it. For example, in my family, there was always interest in metaphysics, in astrology, spirituality. Even though technically my family is Catholic, they were not really die-hard Catholics. The American, your brand of religiousness over there is much more intense than even the Polish variety. Of course, it depends, because if you go to a small town, no matter where you go in the world, there is a much higher possibility of people being superstitious and small-minded. And this is not a national thing; it's an international thing. But point is that people who are average Catholics in Poland, they mostly just go to service once a week, and they fast on certain holidays, and that's all. They move on with their lives. Of course, there are also those who are much more strict, but in my family, honestly, it was not the case. It was more like, yeah, we are Catholics, so we go to church every Sunday and a few times a year, and that's pretty much all. I would say that the whole occult focus was much more present in daily life, because which can create kind of a paradox, because technically the teachings of the Catholic Church, they forbid contact with occult knowledge such as astrology, and they deem it as evil. Yet at the same time, even my religious grandmother was reading newspapers and magazines about astrology and about angel encounters, so you can see how kind of the deeper spiritual factor overpowers the institutional religious factor. And this is the family that I was incarnated into, and it has shaped me into who I am, which is why I took my upbringing to the next level. For this reason, for example, my grandfather was an energy healer, and I still have his pendulum. I'm not gonna take it down now because it would ruin my whole camera setup. But I used it in one of my previous videos. You can see when I was doing my own energy healing session, it's something that I inherited from him. So this is just an example of how you should also celebrate your roots and take what is most precious from them, and also appreciate the wisdom that the land that you were born into gave you. That does not, however, mean that you should close yourself off to experiencing what is more to the world. And as much as I appreciate my country and the wisdom that it gave me, not only on a family level, but also on a global level, because there are pros and cons to every country, but being born in Poland, I really have been lucky to be raised with a very healthy food culture and a very healthy nourishment culture on a physical level. And this is the wisdom, the knowledge that I appreciate that has been given to me by my heritage. However, it is also very important not to be limited to the local culture that you were raised with, even if you should appreciate it. For example, I study Vedic astrology that is from India, where I have never been, which is like, it's a very foreign culture to me, and yet the truth of it has enriched my life beyond measure. The reason why the knowledge and the understanding of these foreign cultures can enrich your understanding of the world is the fact that at the core of it all, what matters is finding truth. Finding out truth about the universe, finding out the truth about yourself, getting to know yourself and what really matters to you, what you want to do in life, and how you can contribute to the world and what is your ultimate mission in this world. And we live now in a more and more international society thanks to the internet, so it kind of becomes more common to have this window to the world even without moving from your room. And that is for a good reason, because many values that are being sold to us across all these cultures are similar. They come from the same place. For example, in most cultures it would be agreed upon that it is not a good thing to do to harm another human being. Of course, it depends on the cultural background, but your actions and how they impact others is going to come back to you and is going to impact your life also. And this has been said in so many ways, in so many teachings, in so many religions, in so many philosophies. Some things thus are easier to learn because this is kind of a collective agreement that hurting others is something low energetically. But for example, in the modern Western culture, there are many disagreements about gender roles and about a role of each respective gender in society. And because of this, people have kind of been stripped of their individuality and their way of reconnecting. All of us, regardless of our gender, of our sexual orientation, have both the divine masculine and divine feminine entangled, because we are both a harmonious blend of the yin and yang energies. And in our culture, in Western culture, it's kind of really misunderstood as to how these energies operate and how in the modern context they exist within each individual. So here, for example, it really helps a Westerner to reconnect with Eastern philosophies, where sometimes they still have a backwards view of things, yet at the core they understand the mix of the energies better. So something that a Westerner could really benefit from is to take the understanding of these energies and take this understanding and apply it in the modern society that has, of course, evolved and cannot be ignored. But the point of this is that no matter what, like I said, your gender is, no matter who you are, this is a polarity that exists inside you. And by exploring this polarity, you also explore yourself. I would say that the bottom line is you can't really know the truth about yourself and the world unless the truth has been confronted with what's on the outside. If you always stay within your own narrow circle, one mentality, one country, one way of looking at things, you will never be able to reach a deeper level of understanding in life. And because of this, there's always going to be a part of you that's going to be diminished. Like I said, it completely is understandable that not all of us have the physical means to physically travel. It's not in the books for all of us to move around. And right now, especially in the current climate, is not even encouraged. And I also know that it's a financial problem for many of us. But the point is in the attitude. I know people who have been raised in an environment with much more money than I ever have had so far. And yet, despite all the travels, their mentality and understanding of what they have experienced as they traveled has been so limited that they might have as well not moved at all. And okay, what I'm about to say is not going to be very humble, but honestly, screw it. I have traveled to some of Europe, but not that much, honestly. Yet, I think that even though I still have a lot to learn and I'm continuously in the process of learning, I have seen myself understand more and have more in-depth understanding than some people who technically have much more financial opportunities to expand their world. So it all depends on the perspective. It all depends on your mindset. If your mindset is limited to the very narrow world that you were raised in and you never mentally venture out, then your life is going to be limited no matter what you physically do with it. You could travel really big distances at the same time, and if your mind remains closed, then you will not really get the fruits of that effort. So from this place where, you know, we have been locked in our houses for like what, way over a year now, before you can actually physically go out somewhere again, I encourage you to first go and venture out within your mind. I encourage you to challenge any belief that you are raised with, any limitation, either self-imposed or imposed from the outside mentally, because the first step starts within the mind, and from the mind comes the manifestation of the matter. And when you open yourself up mentally to what you never even thought you could be, it physically takes you places that you couldn't have imagined possibly also. And this is something that everybody wants in one way or another, because we all have different desires, but we all want more for ourselves. This is the human nature, that we all want more. And when we pretend that we don't want more, that means that we want it so badly that we're miserable and we give up on it, so we still want more at the end of the day. We all want more, and we all want to do something with our lives, no matter what that is for each and every one of us. And the further you go out mentally, the further you're going to get physically. That is not always an easy process, because breaking out of the mold requires facing yourself, facing your pain, facing your effort, and that requires courage. And many people do not have that courage. But those who do not have the courage will also always be appropriately, proportionately diminished. The first risk you can take, the first leap you can take, starts within the mind, then within the heart, and then it bears fruit through action. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me till the end. I hope that this video inspired you and it helps you enrich your life. Recently I have really developed my Facebook page, where I post almost every day, because I write much more than I record, because I don't have the possibility to record every day. So if you want access to my daily posts on astrology and spirituality, I'm going to post the link down below in the description. Our community over there is growing, which I'm very happy about. Thank you guys if you have chosen to join my page. And I also offer private readings, of course, if you want a more individual look at your natal chart, or if you want me to consult tarot to answer some of your questions. Thank you so much again, guys, for visiting my channel and for watching this video. See you, bye!